What's up guys, it's Patricia from TarantulaHeaven.com. Right here we have Miss Spidey, my Girozea, who is being super naughty and climbing her tank. She usually does not do this. This is actually probably the first time I've seen her get that far. And so she's being really active, which is great that I was actually going to film some videos today because I know that most of the time when you guys watch the videos, she's not really doing anything. So today I hope will be a treat for you. Anyway, today's video is about some issues I see with filming tarantulas. My first point was actually that tarantula channels can be very misleading because I think that the way that some tarantula owners film makes it seem like tarantulas are very active. I want you to know that this right here is a huge rarity. If you look at any of my other videos, you will see that Spidey's pretty much a pet rock most of the time. She happened to be a little bit excitable today because I had to wash her water dish and give her water, and she didn't really like me messing around her tank, so I think she got a little bit stressed, and so now she's just moving around and exploring. I hope she settles down soon because I really don't like when she does this sort of behavior. So yes, most of the time you're not going to see this. However, if you were to go on certain tarantula channels, you would really be led to believe the opposite, honestly. And I think that in doing that and making them appear incredibly active, it really doesn't account for or educate about how sensitive tarantulas are to either stress or physical issues, like, well, whether it's injuries or their environment. There's all sorts of things that tarantulas are sensitive to, and I think that a lot of tarantula channels don't really point out that, like, you really can't be careless with these creatures. They're very, even though they're very hardy animals, they can be very sensitive and fragile. One tarantula channel in particular that I'm talking about, and I think that most of you will agree on, is the tarantula channel Exotic's Lair. A lot of you probably know it's one of the most and first tarantula YouTube channels that really blew up. And he got very popular because of his watering videos, I believe. They were very humorous, and I think people really flocked to that, and I think it did a lot of really quite wonderful growth for the tarantula hobby. But I heard, I've seen a lot of people speak out on this, and I also quite agree that his videos can sometimes seem like he is harassing the tarantulas or bothering them, or possibly sometimes even putting them in not so great situations as he's filming them. His channel is really for entertainment versus tarantula keeping, but I think it's a little bit dangerous because a new person coming to the tarantula hobby who doesn't know the reputation, or maybe isn't following a bunch of other tarantula channels to have something to compare it to, would kind of miss that. And they would either totally miss the fact that tarantulas are not doing a whole bunch, unlike what his video portrays, or they would handle their tarantulas actually like that, thinking that that's a good idea. I think a good example, and I have to be honest, I don't know if Richard is still doing this, but Richard Stewart from Tarantula Collective, the Tarantula Collective, I think it was a year or a few months ago, several months ago, honestly I can't remember, but he had put a lot of work into his filming of tarantulas. And one thing that I saw him doing that I don't think I've seen other people do that is really cool is he would actually build terrain to film the tarantulas on. And I'm sure that part of this was just aesthetics. It is so much more beautiful and pleasurable to watch a tarantula walking in their own terrain, or like something that mimics their actual environment, versus filming something like this where they're in the tank and you're separated by the glass. You can't exactly see all the colors and everything like that. And so what he would do is he would build almost like sets to film the tarantulas on, and he would just film them, and it'd be like observing them in an environment that mimicked what they would actually be in outside. And I thought that, one, that's very authentic to the species, which is great for education. Two, not necessarily putting tarantulas in dangerous situations. And three, just letting the tarantula crawl around versus trying to make them do something. I'm sure that when he does film them, sometimes they don't do anything, but occasionally they'll probably walk around. Richard Stewart has a lot more intricate or exotic species than I do, so I imagine that those guys are a lot more active than Spidey would be. And I hope you guys are really enjoying her black belly right now. She is, like I said, a Chilean rose hair, and she is very, very far from her last molt. But I think that their coloring is very beautiful, even when they are losing their vivid rose color. Her bottom underside is like super dark, and it's just pure black and beautiful. And she has these awesome stripes on her legs that I get asked about all the time, because people don't think that she's a rose hair when they see those, but she definitely is. And she's just the coolest. Look at her go. She never does this, so this is really awesome. And yeah, to that point, I would much rather her be walking around some terrain that feels like her home, where she would be growing up in if she were in the wild, than her walking across a piece of acrylic and fake plants. But we do our best. So some issues that I see with a lot of tarantula filming, I guess, is one, taking them out of their enclosure. I have never really, there was a very short period where I would hold Spidey, but it would never be when I was filming. This was actually in the first year of my tarantula keeping journey, where I wasn't even sharing tarantula education because I didn't know anything. And I will not do that anymore. I know it stresses her out. It stresses out, I think, most tarantulas. And I think anytime that you take them out of their enclosure, you are enacting a lot of stress on them. It's one thing if you have to either do some cleaning or something like that, but it is quite another to just do it for fun and entertainment. And I'm sure there are ways to do it better than others, but I do think that every time we remove them from their environment, they are getting quite stressed, and there's always an opportunity for something to go wrong, whether that means an injury, whether that means they get loose or lost, or whether that means you get an injury. So be mindful of that. I do think that that is a major issue. Stressing the tarantulas out by taking them out of the enclosure so that you can film them better. That being said, right along the same point, handling videos I think are very, very problematic. Like I said before, tarantulas don't need to be held. They don't like it. They actually find it very stressful, I think. I think the risks just don't work out in terms of like risks and benefits. I think the risks are far too high. These videos are dangerous because yes, there are some very educated YouTubers who are sharing the correct, responsible ways of handling, showing you certain things to avoid, giving your tarantula an appropriate environment, a safe environment for you to handle them in. But there are also a lot of videos that aren't very responsible. And so handling videos in general, I think for the most part, aren't great. And I think they're a big issue for filming tarantulas and the tarantula hobby. The other thing, and this is a huge one, guys, for me, I have seen, and every time I've seen it, I hold my breath, and it gives me massive anxiety. I have seen people talking to the camera while holding their tarantula, and this could be during a live stream where you have to interact with the comments. This could be just a regular video like this, but that makes me very nervous because, to me, holding a tarantula, holding any living thing, you have to be very aware of what's going on. And if you are too busy looking at the camera or thinking about what you're going to say or talking, that leaves a lot of room for something to go wrong and for you to be temporarily distracted, but also just not completely aware. And so that's another reason why I think handling videos are problematic. Another big issue that I see an awful lot, and this is kind of a thing that Exotics Lair had, I think, probably gotten a lot of criticism for, is making them active by bothering them. So the popular thing that I see a lot is prodding them with a brush, tongs, or some other thing to make them move for the camera. It's one thing if you have to move them because you have to give them water, or you have to clean something, or you're trying to encourage them to eat a little bit very gently. But if it's just to film them, I really don't support that. I think that, and you guys will see on my channel, there are so many videos where she doesn't do anything, and I don't feel like I should be making her do something. I would love for you guys to see her move, but I also don't want to make her do something that's not natural to her, as she could be in captivity. So I don't really support bothering them for the sake of filming. I have not seen many bad videos of this. I think it's problematic, but I haven't seen any videos where I feel like the tarantula was really being harassed. But I have seen people repeatedly kind of poke their tarantulas with a paintbrush or something, you know, kind of softish like that, or gentle. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me. The other thing that makes me nervous about seeing people film their tarantulas is if they have opened the top and they're filming overhead, and one, you're not really looking at the tarantula. If you have a fast tarantula, it could bolt and you would miss it. But you're looking at your phone, and here's the thing, this is something that I fear all the time. What if you were to drop your phone into the enclosure or onto the tarantula? Like, I feel like there's just a lot of things that we do that are not safe, that we don't even really think about. So I do think that sometimes even like opening the lid to film them can be, one, disturbing. I've certainly done it though, but I've certainly been mindful about how I am. I would not be completely over the top of the tarantula with my phone, because that seems incredibly risky. The phones are not light, even the smaller ones. They have some weight to them, and I wouldn't want to take that chance with something as fragile as a tarantula. Last point I'll make, and I might have left a few out, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. But the other maybe problematic thing, and I'm not really sure how problematic it is for the tarantula actually, because their eyesight is so poor, but I think we do know that they can sense light, and I think sometimes to get good lighting, tarantula YouTubers will have these super like bright lights on them, and I couldn't tell you how distressing that actually is for the tarantula. But I do know that, and we do know that they are nocturnal creatures and they love being in the dark, and they like to be very reclusive. I know that when we're filming tarantula videos, it's usually not for very long, but I do think that that could create some disturbance or make them a little bit stressed. That's, I don't think, not a huge issue, but something to think about. So I'd love to know what you guys think about this. These are just some things that I've thought of. I'm sure that there are others that I've left out, so if you want, you can comment on them and let me know what you think about the other ones I did mention. And also, if you have any excellent examples of good tarantula filming, like I did mention the Tarantula Collective, I believe that Tom Moran is always doing responsible husbandry. But if you know any others, please let me know. And I will see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Take care. Bye.